Lesson 6-5, adding and subtracting mixed numbers. And in this lesson, you learn to add and subtract mixed numbers. When are you ever going to use this? You'll add and subtract mixed numbers when you work with lumber dimensions. So Sandy is taking a flight from Atlanta to San Antonio. Travel time is about 2 3/4 hours. When she reports to the gate, they tell her that the flight has a 1.5 hour delay. In how many hours will she arrive in San Antonio? Okay, in this problem, you'll need to find 2 3/4 plus 1 1/2, and you can use models to solve the problem. And let's take a look at this one. So try this. Try two paper plates in front of you to show the whole number 2 in mixed numbers. So these are your two paper plates. Place 3/4 of the plate in front of you, okay, to show that the fraction 3/4 in a mixed number. So this is the model of 2 3/4 right there. Okay. So use more paper plates to show 1 1/2. So you want to add 2 3/4 and 1 1/2 using a model, in this case using paper plates. Combine the pieces to make as many whole paper plates as you can. So if you notice, if I combine all the paper plates together, okay, I get this paper plate, and turn it around like so, make that one whole, and put that paper plate here, put that paper plate there. You'll notice that we'll have 1 2 3 4 and okay, 1/4. So 4 whole paper plates and 1/4. Okay, so let's answer the questions below. How many paper plates do you have? You have 4 whole paper plates. What fraction is represented by the pieces of paper plate that you have left over? 1/4. Okay, that's the one that's left over. How long will it be before Sandy arrives in San Antonio? Okay, 4 1/4 hours. 4 and plus 1/4. Okay, and if you use same paper plates to find 2 3/4 minus 1 1/2, so you have 2 3/4. Let's do the same thing here. Let's get that, not that one. You have 2 3/4. Okay, this is 2 3/4, and we want to subtract 1 1/2. Okay, so that means we take out 1 right here, and 1/2 would be these two. This is 1 1/2. So if we do that, if you notice, what's going to be left? 1 and 1/4. So 2 and 2/3, 2 3/4, I'm sorry, minus 1 1/2 will give you 1 and 1/4. Okay, and that's how you add and subtract mixed numbers using a model. In this case, using paper plates. Okay, let's take a look at example number 1. Well, before we do example number 1, let's see what this model tells us. Okay, so the mini lab that we just did suggests the following rule to add and subtract mixed numbers. The first step is to add and subtract the fractions, then add or subtract the whole numbers, rename and simplify if necessary. So there are 3 steps when you're adding or subtracting mixed numbers. So let's take a look at the example number 1. Find 4 2/3 minus 2 1/3. Let's estimate first. Estimate 4 2/3 to become 5 and 2 1/3 to become 2. So our answer should be around 3. Okay, so let's do the first steps. Let's subtract the fractions. Okay, subtracting the fractions, we have 4 2/3. Okay, minus 2 1/3. And since we have like fractions, we can simply do subtract 2 minus 1 will give us 1/3. So we've subtracted the fractions, and let's go to step number 2. So step number 2, then add or subtract the whole numbers. Okay, so step number 2 is add, subtract the whole numbers. So now, after subtracting 2/3 minus 1/3 will give us 1/3. We subtract now our whole numbers. 4 minus 2 will give us 2. So you end up with 2 1/3. Okay, let's take a look at example number 2. 12 1/4 plus 3 5/6. Again, first thing, let's estimate. 12 1/4 rounds to 12. 3 5/6 rounds to 4. So our answer should be around 16. Okay, so let's write the two mixed numbers in vertical form, 12 and 1/4 plus 3 and 5/6, and let's add the fractions as a first step. So this is the 12 and 1/4, okay, becomes 12 and 3/12, and this becomes 3 and 10 over 12, okay. The reason for this is you want to find the least common denominator, okay, of 4 and 6. In this case, the least common denominator of 4 and 6 is 12, and that's the reason why you have 12 there, okay. And to be able to get to the denominator of 12, we need to multiply this fraction 1/4 by 3 over 3, which will give us 3 over 12, and we need to multiply this fraction by 2 over 2, which gives us 10 over 12. Okay, so we've learned that in the past. Just a little bit of review. Okay, so we add the fractions. So we simply add 3 plus 10. Now we have like denominators. We end up with 13 over 12. Okay, and then we add the whole numbers. Okay, add the whole numbers, which 12 plus 3 will give us 15, and 13 over 12. And the last step would be to rename 13 over 12 to become 1 and 1/2. Okay, so that means if 13 over 12 is 1 and 1/2, then we need to do 15 plus 1 and 1/2. Okay, and that's what it says here. 15 plus 1 and 1/2 will give us 16 and 1/2. So the sum of 12 and 1/4 plus 3 and 5 over 6 is 16 and 1/2. Okay? Let's take a look at example 3. Evaluate x minus y if x equals 5 and 9/10 and y equals 2 and 1/2. Okay, evaluate means to substitute and then to simplify. So we substitute the values of x and y to be 5 and 9/10 minus 2 and 1/2. Okay, the LCM of 2 and 10 is 10. Okay, so that means since the LCM is 2 and 10, the LCD is 10 as well. So we now have 5 and 9/10 minus 2 and 5/10 because 1/2. If you rename it with a denominator of 10, it will become 5 over 10. Okay. Now that we have the same denominator, we can simply subtract the fractions. 9 minus 5, okay, is 4, and 5 minus 3, 5 minus 2 is 3, so you end up with 3 and 4/10, or 3 and 2/5. We're basically combining all the steps, okay? Last example, geometry, find the perimeter of a triangle. And if you notice, when you talk about perimeter, let's review. Perimeter is equal to the sum of all the sides. So if you have a triangle, that is side 1 plus side 2 plus side 3. So we're simply adding up all the sides of our triangle. Okay, so the perimeter of this triangle should be equal to 2 and 1/2 plus 6 and 3/4 plus 7 and 1/8. And if you notice, the LCM of 2, 4, and 8 is 8, or the LCD now, the least common denominator will be 8, and we'll rename these fractions 1/2. Okay, that's just a little bit of a review for those who are still trying to figure out how that happened. So 1/2, 3/4, and 1/8. Okay, their LCD is 8, least common denominator, which also means that the LCM of 2, 4, and 8 is 8. Okay, since the LCM is 8, we do not change this. This is 1 over 8. Okay, since this is 3/4 and that is 8, we multiply this by 1 in the form of 2 over 2, and that gives us 6 over 8. We multiply this by 1 in the form of 4 over 4, and this becomes 4 over 8. Okay, so if you simply, and that's how you rename 1/2, use as 4/8, 3/4 as 6/8, and 1/8 as, well, it's the same. Okay, so this becomes 2 and 4/8, 6 and 6/8, and 7 and 1/8. Now the numerators are all the same. We can simply add all the numerators together. We end up with 4 plus 6 plus 1, okay, will give us 4 plus 6 plus 1 is 11/8, and adding the whole numbers, 2 plus 6 plus 7, okay, remember this is using the commutative property of addition, okay, we're moving the numbers around, okay, and it will not change the sum. So this becomes now 11 over 8 plus 15, okay, or 15 and 11 over 8, okay. Why is it 16 over 3/8? Because we are renaming 11 over 8 as, okay, 1 and 3/8, okay, and you add 1 to 15, that'll give you 16 and 3/8, okay. So the perimeter of that triangle is 16 and 3/8 inches, okay. And that's about it, boys and girls. The secret word for this particular lesson is ponder, P-O-N-D-E-R, ponder. Thank you for watching.